On today's episode of Wrong Side, we go over the past week of our lives, St. Patty's Day, podcast feedback, a March Madness preview, what's going on in our work lives, and a Outside the Line segment for our fans. Are you ready for this?
Let's dive in. Welcome back, listeners. Episode 2 of Wrong Side. Mike, how you been? It's been a week. Been a week for us. What's new?
Welcome back. Today we're recording on this beautiful Sunday. I know this isn't coming out till next Wednesday, but life's been good. Had a pretty good week. We got to get some feedback on episode 1. I know what you guys were wondering. No, we're still not rich. No, we're still not millionaires. But I felt like the reviews were mostly good. It was pretty cool to get some texts from friends and people like our old pledge master shouting us out and texting us, and that was kind of cool to see. Shout out to David Joseph, one of our friends and first fans, for putting us on the story and kind of putting us out there on blast without us getting ready to go. But we really did appreciate that. I thought the podcast went well. Hopefully people are back listening to episode 2. How do you think? First time reviews, family, friends, how do you think it went?
It was awesome. And yeah, shout out to David Joseph. We put it up everywhere, but hadn't really been selling it. And Dave posting it on the Instagram story definitely kicked us all off. So thanks, Dave, for that. It was cool. It was a really fun feeling to put it out and have people texting us, like people I haven't talked to in a couple of years. We're like, this is cool. And then giving us some good feedback. A lot of it was positive. It was really fun. It was a new feeling I haven't had in a while, like waiting every single text. I was like jumpy. I was excited about it. So no, we're still not rich. I think we have like 21 followers on our Twitter account right now, but so far so good. This is fun and I'm excited about it. So I'm real happy.
Yeah, I really liked it. I thought that people responded well. People are looking for kind of like a friendship, life, work, sports podcast. And I know people were texting me that I was kind of looking for something like this, or they wanted people that we knew to start a podcast. And I think it's good to kind of hop on to this and move from there. And I think it got great reviews. I hope we can grow. We're starting to get together a guest list. We're going to have our first guest next week, which we'll tease near the end of the episode. We have an ex-major leaguer who's also interested in being on the pod later in the season. But I'm looking forward to it. I love the feedback. We're always open to ideas. Please, we have a Google form in our Twitter. Fill that out. Send us ideas. Send us your takes. We would love to hear from fans themselves and go from there. So please, fans, keep listening. Keep helping us out. We want this to grow to someday get bigger, and we would love for that to happen.
Yeah, and kind of going off of that, I'm going to shamelessly plug us for a second. I think since this has become real, we've kept a really good mentality about it. We know we're not perfect. We're trying to get better. We're taking this feedback in stride and being coachable. So I think we have a really good mentality going into this, and I'm excited to keep building.
And we understand that it was too long last week. We get it. Everyone got it. The timing was long. Yeah. We understand. We're going to try to be more fan friendly, and we want to be the people that can represent the common working man, the post-20 graduates of their lives, stuff like that.
Yeah, definitely hit the Google form. We're trying to work, taking all that feedback, but episode 1 was cool. Now it's real and got to keep doing it. Here's episode 2. So Mike, going into life a little bit, what have you been up to? I know you've been doing 75 hard for a while now, stuff like that. Give the listeners a little life update for us.
Yeah, last week, kind of a pretty good week, a little busy on the work front, but had a decent week. Kind of missed out on some St. Patty's Day fun. I had some friends obviously in Chicago for their big weekend. I had some other friends going out to Vegas, didn't go. Obviously kind of maybe a soft move, not going out there for a fun weekend, but I am, like Joey said, in the process of 75 hard. I think today's day 62, 2 workouts a day, no booze, reading 10 pages a day, gallon of water. I got my gallon of water here for anybody watching the YouTube that we're hopefully going to have ready for you this week. But I think it's going well. I've lost a ton of weight. I feel better. I definitely feel like this is an optimal time. I'm not missing football Sundays. I did miss the Super Bowl, which was kind of tough, but my team's never in it, so never really a worry. But yeah, St. Patty's Day was tough. I'll be finishing up around Easter, and that'll feel great to have a drink again and kind of get back to social society. I know people say you don't need to drink to have fun, but it's tough to go to social settings where people are drinking when you just have to be dead sober. So that is kind of tough. But other than that, I had a pretty good week at work, got ahead on some stuff, going into the client site this week for my job, getting busy there. 2 clients going to be filing here in a couple months. Outside of that, in my personal life, my brother was home for spring break. That was great. I had a good time with him. He messed around with some of his high school friends, got to be here, hang out with us. Ohio State baseball actually was here last week playing Cal State Fullerton. They had a big win in the later innings, taking care of business there, but I was unable to go because of a softball doubleheader that we had.
Big priorities for sure.
Priorities for sure. And I was able to do that. We won both games. It was a little touch and go there for a little. We started the game with 8 guys, didn't have a outfielder, didn't have a shortstop. We were kind of playing 3-man infield and kind of a mess. But by the second inning, we had our guys there. Finally, we had 10 gloves because we didn't have 10 gloves. And that happened. And we won both games. We got ourselves in a good playoff push now, and good week for the boys.
Good to hear. And I got men's league basketball tonight. Very important final regular season game before playoffs next week. We're going to be a middle of the pack team, the youngest team in the league by far. So that's one of the biggest moments of my week too. Getting to compete with the boys.
What's the over under points? Over under points.
Oh, after St. Patty's Day, I'll put it at a confident 2.5. Which
don't take it, fans. Don't take it. Don't take it. I don't think it's worth your money.
Don't take it. It's not. It definitely isn't. Maybe rebounds. Rebounds would be a good one. Maybe over 1.5 assists would be
high fives. Well. Over 4.5 high fives.
Oh yeah,
hammer that one. Teammate grade up like NBA. I understand.
Oh yeah, big teammate grade guy. But I'll update the fans on the Twitter and maybe even get a couple clips for the YouTube in the coming weeks with playoffs.
Perfect.
I want to hit on 75 hard with you. So. Duality of man here. I am sitting here hungover after St. Patty's Day, and you're 62 days into 75 hard. It's something I might try out here soon, but as far as the biggest changes that you've seen now that you're a good way through it, obviously losing some weight, getting stronger is good, but do you think like physically, mentally, emotionally, it's cutting out a lot of vices that a lot of people do kind of day in and day out. So what do you think the biggest change and the biggest benefit to 75 hard has been?
I think the biggest change for me has definitely been the consistency. When I've gotten into kicks of working out, it's like 4 days in a row or 3 days in a row, and it was never really consistent. A couple summers ago, I got really into it, and for about a year and a half, I was pretty consistent doing it, and then it was kind of hit or miss, and I kind of wanted to stop being lazy about it. I think one thing that is for me is tough is that it's been 62 days, no days off, so my body has some days where I wake up and I'm like, man, my shoulder's hurting, but I gotta get in there. Man, my knee's hurting, but I gotta get in there, and I think that's tough here and there. I don't think that's been like a problem overall. I just think certain days it matters. Outside of that, one benefit I do see is the weight I've lost. I was getting to a chunky point. I've lost 20 pounds in 62 days. So I think that's a big pro. It has been tough the last 3 weeks. I had St. Patty's Day this weekend. I didn't drink. The week before I was at an engagement party, didn't get the drink. And the week before it was one of my best friend from home's birthday. Didn't get the drink then, but I still got to hang out. I still love doing that. I love being around people, stuff like that. But everyone kind of giving you a hard time. Why are you doing this? Who are you trying to be? I get it. It's a long time. I don't recommend if you want to do that, if you can't do it. I'm not saying it's for everybody, but I do think it's a great test. I think there are days where I'm grinding work and I was like, crap, I got to get in there. Crap, I got to do this. I'm waking up early, working out. Not taking my lunch, my quote unquote lunch break is I go on a walk or a jog around my neighborhood to get some cardio in for that. And I think it honestly is a good mental battle to show you can do it. I think that's important.
Yeah, that's huge. Discipline, consistency, something like that is something I'm hoping to attack in 2024, especially on those holidays. That'd be hard. I know standing here today, I do not have the discipline to be able to say no on a day like St. Patty's Day, but proud of you for making it 62 days in and excited to see the rest.
The episode in a couple weeks is going to be great when I'm getting drunk with the Easter Bunny. I think day 75 is the day before Easter, so I'm getting excited for that. But on the other end of my life, how was your life? How was St. Patty's Day? How was the weekend with your friends that were coming to visit? What was that like this weekend?
Oh, it was awesome. So duality of man, Mike 62 days in, I am here sweating my ass off hungover after St. Patty's Day. So we had like 10, 15 of our college friends came into town, stayed across a couple different apartments in the city. Shout out Moose and Derek and Looney for housing all of us. It was an early day. It felt a lot like our college football Saturdays. We were up at 6 a.m. Irish coffees early, a little bit of breakfast, and then straight up to Wrigleyville by about 8:30 for the bar crawl. Something that I find hilarious. These bar crawls that I've done a couple times in Wrigleyville, they have buffets there. So there was a breakfast buffet. Yeah,
what was on the menu? Right? What was on the menu?
It was like scrambled eggs, and there was like some sausage links and everything. There's so many people there, it runs out really quick. But also, like, do you really want to trust?
No way.
No. So I kept a real small plate. Needed to get some food in before the day started, but it was a fun time. 15 guys from OSU plus like 15 or 20 of my friend group from home. I had friends everywhere I went. It was a great day. I was floating around between groups a lot. Everyone got to hang out, which made me really happy. And I didn't stress about it too much. I had a drink in my hand the whole day, which was great. And whoever I was with, I was having a good time with. So I wasn't trying to chase people around, which made me happy. Sometimes I have a habit of trying to micromanage everybody and ended up ruining my own day, getting angry about that. But St. Patty's Day was great. Watched the Ohio State heartbreak in college basketball with the boys on Friday. We'll get into that a little bit later, but it was great to see everybody. Shout out all the boys that came in. It was a really fun time. Can't wait to see you guys again.
Sloppiest member of the group. We got to have one. Maybe not too sloppy. There's got to be one. Those guys, they had their fair share of Natty Lights and Borgs throughout the years. Who wasn't able to handle the Chicago St. Patty's Day?
Well, so Friday I think was sloppier than Saturday. Oh. Saturday, everybody knew it was going to be a long day, so they were pacing themselves well. I mean, we started drinking at about 6:30 and then went all the way through the evening. So a really, really full day, and I'm feeling it this morning. I feel like I went 10 rounds with Rocky. Oh. But sloppiest one on Friday, Ryan Agner, for sure. Not to call the boy out, but I had to work on Friday, so I hit the train after work, met up with them. They had all been drinking since noon, and Ryan, he's in my pledge class. He's a Bears fan. He didn't grow up here, but we still welcome him in as a Bears fan. He grabs me by the neck and pulls me in close like those real drunk people do. He's like, "Here's why we're keeping Justin Fields."
No.
And that was Friday. We're recording this on Sunday since Justin Fields has been moved on to the Steelers, but Agner had himself a day. No one was too sloppy. We acted like adults. There was no one throwing up all over the place, but it was a good time. But Agner, he had some takes about the podcast, some takes about the Bears, and it was funny. Love that. So I got to put him on blast.
All right, Agner, sloppy member of St. Patty's Day, but that's all right. Those are great times. I know you said we're going to get into it later. I think it's a disaster, but also smart by the Bears organization to make this move while the entire city is drunk and looking at a Green River. I think that's smart on their point. No one's really fully locked in on what's going on with the team, but we'll touch on that later. I think one thing about that I definitely missed out on is I feel like I had major FOMO. I was bummed out. I knew you guys were there, your pledge class, people that I knew in college were also there. I had a ton of high school friends that were actually out there. So that did kind of suck. But outside of that, I did have my own FOMO. I'm sober. I'm not celebrating the holiday. That sucked. But as we've kind of talked about today, one of our group chats looks like next year, Big Ten tourney in Chicago, St. Patty's Day around that time. Looks like it's going to be a time for the boys to get together, show out and show up. And I'm very excited for that. So looking at a Big Ten tourney, I think we should head into our March Madness preview.
All right, next up, we're recording this on Selection Sunday, but before we get into the bracket breakdown, want to talk about Ohio State, end of their season, both men and women. Starting off with the men, big moves out of Columbus. We hired our interim head coach, Diebler. Mike, what do you think of that hire and the departure of Chris
Holtman's gone. Good riddance. See ya. Enjoy DePaul. We'll see what you do there. I think it's a very interesting hire. I wonder how many names that we kept seeing rumored were really true. Dusty May, Sean Miller from Xavier. Those two schools were kind of in the mix. We saw that a lot. And now we're not quite sure how that ended up. Diebler's going to get the gig. That's huge for him. I think he got the guys together well at the end of the season. I don't know long term if this is the right way. I noticed that when it was announced that he was signed to the full term, that he's trying to work with the foundation and 1870 Foundation, try to work with them to build a bigger NIL package for our recruiting. I don't know how much of a recruiting job he did as an assistant. I know they go to visit certain recruits, but as a head coach, it's a lot different. So I'm not sure how he can do it. He kept a good group of guys solid together for the end of the year. I think it was great. We'll have to see. Ohio State needs to get back into the March Madness consistently. It's a big brand. It's a big school. We've had the moments to get there. We need to make it back. Being in the NIT, whatever, who cares? We got to get back to March. Those are my thoughts. What do you think? How do you think it's going to work out? Do we still have a shot at Bryce James? Is Braun lying, saying he would have given more if we hired Dusty May? Where do you think that goes?
I don't know. I think it was classic LeBron being LeBron, because we did have Bronny in town for that one visit during the Notre Dame game, I think, when we were in college. I'm not missing Bryce James personally. We'll see what he turns into. But Bronny's averaging 5 points at USC. Have fun out there. I'm positive about the Diebler hire, but tentatively. He started off super successful, beating number 2 Purdue on our home floor with his first game as the head coach. I'd like to see them get a couple wins in the NIT just to show that bump in morale wasn't only during the regular season. I am holding back a little bit and trying to see maybe why we didn't go after any of those big names, like we said. But in a vacuum, Diebler showed some promise for the Buckeyes and would love to see them back in the
And to be honest, they kind of got screwed out of the promised land this past week. I know you mentioned that you went out with some of the boys to watch at the bar, and it was just pure heartbreak. It was Lakers free throw disparity. It was you couldn't breathe on Illinois. In the last few minutes, they were down 7, never even made a field goal. It was all free throws. The refs were horrible. The Big Ten refs were awful, just putrid.
Yeah. Absolute bullshit out there. Me and the boys were at Woody's in Old Town, some of the best wings in Chicago, in a great Ohio State bar. We were watching it. The bar was packed. We were chanting OH all the way down the stretch, and then the free throws started. It was so one-sided. It was tough. They didn't make a field goal for the last 7 minutes of the game, and we just watched it slowly slip away. Classic wrong side moment with all of us being together. But Ohio State has to go home. I think I'll take it as a positive, close the circle the wagons, and see what we can come back with next year. Hopefully we can get on that recruiting trail a little early, and hopefully some big names sign with a chance to bring one of the biggest brands in the country back to the promised land.
I think that would be great. I think the people want a winner in basketball. Where we know football, we know what they can do. We have other sports that can do it. Basketball this year just kind of took a back seat, and it was blown leads in the fourth quarter, bad second halves, not fourth quarter, bad second halves. It was just consistent for about a month. We couldn't get our feet under us, and it was just so frustrating to watch. But luckily, there's still a lot of basketball to watch. We're ready to go. March Madness. What are your thoughts on the bracket, everything that kind of shook out on Selection Sunday? It seems like the committee was right in some ways, wrong in a lot. What were some of your storylines? What are some of the things you noticed?
First of all, I'm super excited to have a bracket in my hands. I do have a paper copy here with me. I'm excited, first and foremost. I think there's a lot of strong teams, but the thing about the men's bracket that's interesting this year, there's not a ton of star power. You have the Caleb Love storyline. You have a few other people, Dalton Connect down in Tennessee, but far and away, the women's bracket has a little more star power with Caitlin Clark, JC Sheldon and the Buckeyes, Juju Watkins and USC. But diving into some of the men's matchups I really like, I got to shout out the Nebraska Cornhuskers. One of the maybe you shit on teams a little bit in the Big Ten. They got an 8 seed in the South region, drawn up against Texas A&M. Drawn up against Texas A&M in both the men's and the women's. Why is that funny? Nebraska's AD is headed to Texas A&M this summer. And since it does always go back to the Buckeyes, the reason that the A&M spot was open to begin with is because their ex-AD is starting in Columbus this summer. So a little funny thing for me, my sister's at Nebraska now. A few of my other friends went there as well. So I do like rooting for Nebraska. Keisei Tominaga, the Japanese Steph Curry, could get the hearts of the nation this March. And that's going to be a matchup in both the men's and women's brackets that I really like.
Yeah, I think those are great matchups, like you said, in the South. One cool thing to look at is obviously the Pardon My Take pod of Wisco, James Madison, Duke, and Vermont. So that'll be fun. One of them is guaranteed to make the Sweet 16. That'll be cool. But one part of the bracket that I really like looking at is the Midwest region. A lot of pressure, a lot of tension, a lot of things that they are on top because this is it for them. A lot of people are graduating. A lot of good players are going to the draft. It'll be very interesting to see how they handle it. For Purdue, good thing for them, great stat, 100% of one seeds that were eliminated by the 16 seed won the Natty the next year. So Purdue fans, don't worry. That's a great stat for you.
Not happening.
That's a great
That's
stat
going to
for
be
you.
a 50% stat by the end of the year. 50% stats for that by the end
But
of the year.
outside of Purdue, in that conference, you have Tennessee, who got bounced fairly early in the SEC tournament. We'll see if they're able to figure it out, get their stride back. But playing the St. Peter's Peacocks, who made a little bit of a spark a few years back, that was a great run. So I wonder who will come out of that one. Looking at the West, as you mentioned, you have that UNC Caleb Love rematch potentially happening. If a Zona UNC matchup happens in the Elite Eight, we'll see if we can get there. The 8-9 matchup in there is a guaranteed MSU winner with Michigan State versus Mississippi State. And I think there's a lot of good teams to go in that region. And it'll be interesting to see. A lot of people are starting to pick 2-1s, 3-1s, 3-1s and a 2 to make the Final Four. It never works out like that. And I think it's so funny to see when people do it like that because it rarely happens. So what do you think about the East? I know we haven't touched on that one yet, but how do you see that one going?
The East, it's a tough one. UConn being the number one overall seed in the tournament with a lot of historic programs, a lot of really strong teams in there. You got the Big Ten champ in Illinois. You got Iowa State, who a lot of people were pushing to be that final one seed instead of North Carolina. It'll be really interesting. I think I do still have to say UConn's probably going to come out of that one, but a matchup I want to watch there is Florida Atlantic versus Northwestern. Florida Atlantic made a little bit of a run in the last couple of years, and Northwestern's had a pretty strong season as well. It's one of the reasons I love March Madness so much. You get a couple of those smaller schools that maybe don't have as much of a national presence like the Buckeyes do. You get them making a little bit of a run. You get people wearing their purple for Northwestern in the Chicago area, and it's another reason why I love March. So I think I'm going to keep an eye on that one in the East. And I gotta shit on the Midwest a little bit. A lot of teams that I would hate to see come out of that region. Purdue, fraudulent. Zach Edey, tall. That's it. He's going to be the tallest used car salesman there ever was. Another team, Gonzaga. I've always hated Gonzaga. I don't know why. But little less national attention on them this year. They're a 5 seed instead of our typical 1 or 2 seed that we see them on a lot. Maybe this is the year they get past the Sweet 16. Probably not, because that's been their ceiling for the last 20 years. Another team I would hate to see out of there is Kansas. Hunter Dickinson, former Michigan man. I hate his guts. I think he got a little banged up
Kansas was very injury prone throughout the Big 12. I think it's going to trickle into the beginning of this tournament. We'll see if they can roll without him or if they will even get him back at all.
Well, they won't. I hate them. I want them to lose as soon as humanly possible. And then the other team I wouldn't like to see is Tennessee. Connect is solid. I think he's a really good player, but as far as I think he's the only player on the team, I think as the 2 seed, they may be a little overrated. Dare I say, I don't think Purdue or Tennessee, the 1 and 2 seed in that division, I don't think either of them are coming out of it. I don't know who it's going to be, but I'd love to see number 3, Creighton. Kind of a cop-out with me saying number 1 and 2 aren't going to be there, but Creighton shoots the lights out of the ball. McDermott has had a lot of success in March, but hasn't gotten the big one. I think they're a really strong team, great shooting. They shoot their way into games, but also shoot their way out of games sometimes. March is all about when you get hot. I'd love to see Creighton come out of the Midwest Division and every other team crash and burn, to be quite honest.
It seems like some pure hatred towards the Midwest. My one fun story, though, from this past weekend, Championship Sunday, Championship Saturday, depending on the conference, was the Atlantic 10 with VCU and Duquesne. I don't know if you saw this, but with about 18 minutes left in the second half, Duquesne dropped the confetti up 16 against VCU, and everyone freaked out. Everyone started betting VCU. Luckily for Duquesne, they ended up winning the game, moving on to March. It's their first appearance in March since the 70s. They've been missing out. It'll be a great story for them. I'm very interested to see how they play against BYU. I know the first four aren't also a very popular games, but it's still March Madness. It still counts as an appearance. I think the winner of the Boise State Colorado game might have a chance to do something. I think those games, I think Virginia was shocked to even be in this. No one really knows how that happened. There was some crazy Big East bias, some love for the Mountain West. Very rarely do you see that happen. So it'll be interesting to see how that shakes out for the men's. But on the other side of brackets, we have to look at the women and talk about Ohio State, the star power there. How do you think that's going to go?
Star-studded bracket. I do have a women's bracket printed out for first time in a long time. The Buckeyes are the number 2 seed down there in Portland 3, and there's a lot of teams to talk about here. I am going to start with the star-studded division that is Albany 2, led by 1 seed Iowa. Louisville, LSU, Creighton's in there too on the women's side. There's a lot of strong teams there. I'm a big Iowa fan. Caitlin Clark has been super impressive. I was actually in Iowa City for the Final Four and national championship game last year. And Iowa City, that's a basketball town. They were all over it. It was one of the coolest basketball environments I've ever been a part of. And I'm very much expecting Caitlin Clark and the Iowa Hawkeyes to make another run this March. On a collision course potentially with the LSU super team, it's going to be tough. Not sure who's going to come out of there. The national championship from last year will be potentially rematched before even the Final Four. So how do you think that division's going to go? Who are you looking at in this women's bracket?
Yeah, I think that division, like you said, is the toughest region. You have other teams, not even the ones you mentioned, like Colorado, Kansas State, those type of teams. Shout out to our local women's basketball reporter, Moose, for giving us some great insight on who he thinks is great. He's kind of been the one to get us into this game. We always used to watch Ohio State, but he's allowed us to grow our knowledge into other women's teams. I think that's great. It's still great basketball. They're incredible athletes. They would kick any one of our asses. They're incredible shooters. I like seeing star-studded power. I think obviously we have the OSU bias. It looks like in our region, we're kind of in a potential crash course for a UConn rematch in the Sweet 16. That could be great. I think USC being the 1 seed in our region is great. I think that was the best of the 4 we could have gotten placed with. But looking at the other side of the bracket, you have other teams like South Carolina continuously dominating. They will probably be in the Elite 8, guaranteed maybe to be in the Final 4, and probably have a very good shot, probably betting favorite by far to be the Natty champion. And I think you have a team there, even though they're young, their coach, Don Staley, incredible. They know what they're talking about. They play great ball, and it's going to be very interesting to watch. I think that's going to unfold very well.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure last year South Carolina had another year of dominance, and they were actually favorites versus the rest of the field. That was something you could get on some sports books. So women's brackets usually a lot more chalk, a lot more favorites win, but there's some star power here that we don't usually see. Diving into the Buckeyes a little bit more, I love our team. Like you said, Moose got us into it a little bit, and it's been fantastic basketball to watch. They're a really well-built team and super exciting. I think the UConn collision course is pretty scary. They got Paige Buchers back. They're probably circling that matchup on their schedule. If we make it through them, I don't know if there's I like us versus any other team in the tournament, but that revenge game in March could hit pretty tough for the Buckeyes. I mean, the Lady Buckeyes are amazing. JC Sheldon, our captain and veteran leader, she just understands the pace of the game, understands basketball at a super high level, and is awesome to watch. You got Cody McMahon, who's an absolute force to be reckoned with down low, and a lot of solid role players as well. So do you think the Ohio State Buckeyes are making a run this March?
I think they are. I think Kevin McGuff, Big Ten Coach of the Year, did a fantastic job. We played some great games. I know we lost to USC early on, but we split with Iowa. We've had great exposure. We've been battle tested. We dropped a game in Maryland, as some of us have kind of talked about. That's okay. Drop it then. I think you have, like you said,
For
JC, Cotty, those are great players. You also have Celeste Taylor, who is Defensive Player of the Year in the Big Ten. It's a great team that fights for each other, and they have everybody behind each other's backs. I think they have the chance to roll. They have UConn. They have Iowa on the top if they face them, or LSU. To be the best, you have to beat the best. And they're going to have to slay some giants to get a chance to win a natty and potentially see a South Carolina on the other side. So that'll be very interesting to see.
Yeah, one of the first times I'm really truly interested in both the men's and women's tournaments. A lot of star power on the women's side, a lot of great basketball all around. So excited for the games to start on Thursday. First 4 start Tuesday,
Correct.
I believe, and excited to fill out as many brackets as I can.
Definitely. And now we're going to kick it back to us talking about our work lives and what's been going on there. Next on Wrong Side, we're going to talk about what's been going on in our work lives, how it's been going for us. We're kind of getting in the midst of busy season for myself. Joey's about to get his review for been there about a year for his company, and we're kind of going to go into that. So, Joey, let's hear about your week. What was it like? I know you mentioned a performance review. How did that go? What do you still need to learn? Are you the perfect employee? Let's hear it.
Shockingly, no, I'm not the perfect employee. I passed my 1 year anniversary at my company this mid January. Review season is now in March. It just finished up this week. It was odd going through my first performance review. I have two really strong managers who I talk about kind of like long term goals with a lot, but having this kind of like extra meeting to talk about it one more time is kind of weird, kind of underwhelming almost. My final score was a 3 out of 5. That means I'm just like everybody else, and that's okay right now. It's weird. One year into my corporate career after college, there's a lot I don't know, a lot I'm trying. I don't feel like I'm good at my job a lot, which is kind of hard to do day in and day out. But I got a lot of positive feedback from my managers. The review process, I mean, it's just a little weird. Like I talk to my managers on a weekly basis, as I'm sure a lot of people do, and it was like an extra kind of official meeting to talk about what we all already knew for the most part. Got to keep getting better, and that's the mantra every single day. But it was overwhelmingly positive, but kind of a little underwhelmed by the whole review process. So that was the big thing for me at work this week. Getting busier, which is good. I am a billable resource at my job, so I got to make sure my utilization keeps going up and I keep billing these clients. So that's something I'm trying to focus on lately. But that was the biggest thing.
What are some pros and cons you think are the first year that you've learned that maybe you want to give back to people that are entering the workforce in a couple months here? Another class of graduates are about to start. What are some pros and cons, things you've learned, maybe something small that you've learned throughout the last year?
I've been really trying to get in front of as many people as possible. There's a ton I don't know. I work for a tech company and I don't know tech at all. I'm in project management. So the more people I can talk to, the more I can learn about the industry. That is super valuable right now. I also like to go into the office, which a lot of people don't. I have a bit of a lengthy commute, like an hour train ride from the suburbs into Chicago. Um, from working from home, that's a bit of a change, but it's another opportunity for me to get in front of my boss. I actually bumped into the CEO a couple weeks ago, and we're a pretty big company, so that was cool for me. Um, that's big. Be in front of people, fail fast, learn fast. I try not to take any criticism to heart, which is hard. We're all human. It's hard to do, but trying to be coachable. I know that there's a ton that I don't know. This may not be my job forever, but it's my job right now. So I'm trying to do my best every day and learn as much as I can. I don't need to be perfect, but I need to keep
I
learning.
love that. Might not be my job forever, but it's my job now, and I got to keep learning. I love that quote. It's a good way of looking at life. I think that's important.
Thank you. Yeah, it's good. I think you and I talk about it a lot. The work from home aspect, when we're two very social people, is one of the reasons that drove us to starting this podcast. It's weird doing everything behind a screen. You call your coworker for a question, you don't get to build that relationship. They answer your question, then pretty much hang up and go on to the next thing. So it's been an adjustment for sure, but 1 year in, one performance review in, and not too bad so far.
Love that. Love
You,
that.
on the other hand, you're heading into your first busy season in accounting, still studying for exams, stuff like that. The rumor of busy season, you're working 80 to 100 hours per week at these big four firms. How's that going so far?
Yeah, so luckily so far I haven't been fully busy season. I kind of got put on two private clients, so the public filing date's about to pass and that's going to be come and gone. But my time is kind of picking up from now till the end of March. I'm looking at some long weeks, like you said, that 80 to 100. I'm excited. We're starting to go into our client side a little more, so that'll be good. I'm going to get to meet people from their side versus over just a Teams call. I'm going to get to meet more of my coworkers that I don't really get to talk to. Actually, for one of my clients, I got to meet the partner on the call last week, which, like you said, is a big deal. It's a big company. One of the partners at our local firm, not the entire PwC.
Okay.
But it was still nice to
Okay.
see, good to meet someone like that. We got to talking. He asked me about my life. Good to have that kind of relationship. I think I'm still learning. I think one thing that I kind of struggle with in certain things is in accounting, you're not really learning what you're doing in this job in school. You need to know the basics, the debits and credits, the balance sheet, the income statement. I think that's very important, but you're learning their systems. And now I've been there, let's see, October, November, almost 6 months, probably a little over 6 months now at this point. And I really like it. I think it's a great experience. I'm learning a lot. I'm getting a lot faster at certain things. But there are times where you kind of have that second guessing of, am I not moving fast enough? What do I need to do? I've never had an issue where someone's like, hey, you're slacking. Hey, pick it up. Luckily, I've never failed that way. But I think that it has helped me grow having that thought in my mindset and allowed me to keep pushing, get things done, hit deadlines so people see that I do care. I am getting the work done and prepping for busy season. Even this weekend, my team was on a little, but I was jumping ahead on stuff for this week because I know I'm going to be working on 2 clients at the same time. I'm a little stressed about that, but I think it's going well. I think it's a great first job. I agree. I don't know if this is my job forever, but it's my job now. And I'm trying to do everything I can to show that I care about this company and able to do it.
Good to hear. Yeah, and I think that's interesting. Like, you and I are both very motivated people. Having that fire under your ass, like, I need to get this done. Like, am I doing enough? Like, having that super important. And I think something that you and I both like to laugh about too is a lot of people are kind of just the average. So I think a lot of people don't have that fire. They're just trying to punch a clock, get in, get out. And as a young person, we haven't proved anything. They've maybe proved something or at least confirmed the reputation of being a slacker. We want to prove that we're better than that. So I think having that fire under you is super important.
I agree. And kind of like how you said, your performance review, you got a 3 out of 5, you're average, just like everybody else. Ours kind of come after around June, July, and that's when you kind of get your review. You get a bonus if you get one, stuff like that. And I kind of asked early last week or 2 weeks ago, and I said, hey, what do I do to make sure my ranking's good or perform well? And she said, and basically they said, everyone's kind of average at all of the stuff, all the categories in the first year. And that's okay. There's some where you might excel at, there's some where you might not have had a lot of exposure based on the client you were at. And that's okay. You're a sponge this first year in this program. You're a sponge in auditing. You're a sponge in learning from the partners and the managers and the directors and your seniors. And I think that's really important. I think you want to be that person to know how to do everything without being a pest and knowing where do I stop? Who can I ask? But I think it's good to sit back and watch how certain things are done. And it allows you to learn. I do a really good job learning. When I was just on a call last week, for example, and they're talking about other stuff that I did not participate in. It's not the file or something I was working on. And I was just learning about how they talked about it that way. And I think that helped me grow a little even more, seeing it that way. And seeing it from a different perspective, seeing it from someone who's been there for longer always helps. And I think it's a good way of learning the business.
Yeah, being a sponge is super important, and it's kind of hard. That's part of the adjustment. I busted my ass this year and get the 3 out of 5. And sorry, no matter how much mom and dad told you can do whatever you want to do, for the most part, everyone's kind of average. And that it's important to be a sponge and keep learning, trying new ways to do things. So that's something that I really try and keep in top of mind all the time. But it's an adjustment. It's kind of weird. Yeah, 3 out of 5 is okay for me so far, but I have potential that other people who got a 3 out of 5, maybe they're in their 60s, they're probably not going to grow too much. So I'm hoping my potential's there and my teammate great at work can keep.
You're on the upward spiral, not the downward one yet. So that's a good way of looking at it.
All right, good talk about work. Good luck with busy season, Mike. Before we get into Outside the Line, a quick break from our sponsor.
Our first wrong side sponsor ever is Shore Metals, a steel and metal manufacturer, premium metal supplier serving Southern California since 1970. Big enough to serve you and small enough to know you. Check them out in local Orange County. Joey, back to you.
Thanks for the ad read, Mike. Shout out Shore Metals. I know Stan over there, and he'll take care of you if anybody wants to give him a call. But thanks again. Diving into Outside the Line. Starting off with the Tone Deaf Person of the Week. I'm going to go with people who are too good for holidays and St. Patrick's Day. We hit on the fact that, Mike, you were sober over the weekend, and I'm coming to you guys sweating and shaking all day. So apologies for a poor first impression on the YouTube. But I woke up this morning, and one of the first videos I saw was someone saying something along the lines of, when I'm trying to do all my Saturday morning errands and the whole city is drunk, like, come on, shut up. The river's green. Let us drink. These are the days that I love living in this country, and people who act like they're too good for it need to just lighten up a little bit.
Yeah, the people that act like they're morally above it. I know it sounds like I am because I'm not drinking. I was FOMOing. I wish I was drinking. I was in misery not drinking. So I don't want it to sound like that. But the people that think they're too good to celebrate or the world revolves around them, like, come on. Like, I mean, I think that leads to my Tone Deaf Person of the Week of people who don't have any accountability. people who want to blame people when things don't go wrong, people that don't want to take ownership if something is wrong in a document or on a team call. People like that to me just suck. If something happens and you fail and you don't get your way, whether it's not getting into a school, whether it's not getting the right job, whether it's not getting a pay raise, take accountability one time. Show that you're able to accept accountability versus like, yeah, I'm going to blame Joey for this because this is how it happened, or I'm going to blame this person because of that. I just think it's weak. I think it's weak. It shows that you're not a grown up. You're a child acting like you can do no wrong. We're in our 20s now. Grow up. We're not past the little kid stage where someone's going to be like, oh, you're absolutely right, Johnny, that this happened. No, Michael, get up, figure it out. Why did it go wrong? And try to fix it. And I saw a quote today that said, failure is just as important as success. You learn just as much in failure as you do in success. And I think that's really important because I think it's true. I think there's times where I've failed at things, whether it's an exam, whether it's something in life, and you have to learn how do you bounce back from that. And if you can't take accountability, if you can't figure shit out like that, then what are you doing? How are you getting better as a person? So, I know you said you have thoughts on that too. And what do you think? But people who don't take accountability, people who make the wrong decisions, stuff like that.
Yeah, it makes me so mad. A lot of the time, like especially in work, like I said, I know I'm not perfect. For example, this podcast, we know we're not perfect. I'm trying to get better. If there's a mistake out there, I'm honestly going to look at what I did first before I start pointing fingers and blaming people. Because more likely than not, it was probably my fault to begin with. We're all just average at this thing, trying our best. Mistakes are not the end of the world, but have some accountability, fix it, and move on. Don't try and spin some narrative, some conspiracy theory that it's someone else's fault, not your own. Because for the most part, me speaking personally, I probably didn't do the right thing.
I know your tone deaf person was somebody who was trying to do their errands, trying to get work done while St. Patty's Day was going on. How about someone who did get their work done? The Chicago Bears front office.
Ryan Poles, I'm wrestling with it. I think it was a very good social engineering move by the Bears front office to break this news when the whole city was drunk, but he's gone. My boy, the guy who made me fall in love with college football, Uno, Justin Fields, is a Pittsburgh Steeler, looking like he's going to back up Russell Wilson for the time being. But Russ had some question marks, so maybe Fields can slide into a starting spot. He deserved better. I said this from day one. I'm looking like we're going to draft Caleb Williams now, which I'm really excited about. But Justin Fields deserved better. The Steelers are a fantastic organization. I hope he has a ton of success there. I want to get your opinion on the draft capital we got back. I know we were looking for a second rounder to begin with, and since we had the number 1 overall pick, I think people kind of had us in handcuffs for the trade value we were going to be able to get from Fields. But it's like a conditional 6th to a 4th, and I'm not sure how I feel about that.
I think the trade value is incredibly interesting. I think you saw it start from early January, where I saw a tweet from Mel Kiper basically saying Justin Fields is worth the 8th overall pick from the Falcons. They should trade the 8th for Fields, and that's what it's going to do. And the Bears are going to have 1, 8, and 9 and get to build an even better team around Caleb, and this is how it's going to work. And now we're sitting here on March 17th looking at the deal, and it's a conditional 6th-round pick. If Fields plays over 51% of the snaps, it's a 4th-round pick, and definitely not what Poles did. I think Poles, in hindsight's 2020, you got to get rid of him. You want to give him an opportunity that maybe the Steelers buy him out, give him a chance at free agency. My opinion on it is I think you should have just waited till after the draft, see how that works, because people get desperate. People get hurt. I think if you get to a situation in the middle of the preseason, if somebody goes down, his value is incredible. And you have teams like the Rams who are signing Jimmy G to be their backup, or you have teams like the Cowboys who have Trey Lance just sitting there waiting for no reason. Those guys' values go up from week 1 to week 4 of the preseason, and it's very important. So I think maybe you could have held on to him. I understand the business side and wanting to give Fields a chance to get used to his team, figure out the new coaching staff, figure out a new playbook. That I do understand, but I am a little bummed for the value. I think a 2nd or a 3rd may have been great, but Sam Darnold didn't get much. It seems like the backup quarterback market is kind of tanking right now, and I don't really know how to fix that. I think now, obviously, we know Caleb will be a Bear. I hope that Caleb is doing good and he is able to produce for the Bears, because I think Caleb's on the clock as soon as he steps in the building. I don't think there's a Fields situation where he's sitting behind Dalton. They've put together a team. They've traded some capital for assets on the outside. You have a running back. You're going to have the 1st and 9th pick. It's win time. It's win time for Williams. No one's going to listen to excuses. No one cares that you're a rookie. Stroud just did it. You're coming into a much better team. Might not be the most organizational team where they're great at a lot of decisions, but a city and a team that has done the work. Poles is working to try to make it happen. Is he able to do it? We're not sure. So let's see. I feel for Fields. I'm bummed for Fields. I know a lot of our friends, Browns and Bengals fans, they're a little bummed because they have to root against him if he's playing. I think Russ will be out of there in a couple weeks. I hope that he gets a chance to play there. It's a great organization. They haven't finished under 500 in 15, 16, all of Tomlin's tenure. So something like that. Yeah. I think that's going to be great for him, but I do feel for him. I think he did get the short end of the stick. I think it was a brutal call, but I understand the business decision.
Yeah, it's tough. He deserves better, and I hope he gets it in Pittsburgh. I don't know if we're in win now mode for the Bears. I am conditioned throughout my life that anything that can go wrong for the Bears will go wrong. And the other free agent moves that we made were DeAndre Swift and Keenan Allen. First of all, little conspiracy theory here. Keenan, well, not even conspiracy theory because Fields is gone now, but Keenan and Caleb both wear number 13. So you have a all-time great receiver coming in with maybe some contract expectations, stuff like that. Want to make him feel welcome early. And also one of the most highly recruited number 1 overall picks likely coming in as well. So a little game within the game to watch there. But Keenan Allen's kind of old, has had some injury concerns that have been overblown throughout his career. For the most part, he does stay healthy, knock on wood. And DeAndre Swift coming off of an underwhelming year with the Eagles after they kind of shit the bed late in the year as well. So is it win now time, or are these just splash signings for the Bears to kind of quiet the haters a little bit? I would have liked them see go a different direction.
Yeah, I think, like we all know, that the division's going to be tough. Love's got the Packers right there. They didn't miss a step since Rodgers left. The Vikings are probably going to trade up, take a quarterback, figure out their position there. I think that's important. The Lions, obviously, NFC Championship appearance this past year. It's going to be a very good team. It's going to be a very good division. I agree it's not win now. And when I said that, I meant as if it's not a 2-3 win team. It has to be a 7-8-9 team win. And I think that's important. I think Caleb has a lot of pressure on him. It seems like a lot of people are haters and want him to fail immediately. I'm not quite sure of that. But moving forward, he needs to step into that city, dominate from the start. He can't be crying on the sidelines. I understand the emotion, but this city is borderline Philly. It's not Philly, the people who booed Santa Claus, but these people want to see a winner. They want to see a winner. They're tired of losing. They want to hit a home run on the quarterback. It's a win now situation for Caleb and the Bears.
Definitely. Yeah. I hope he does well. I think what's really pissed me off about the quarterback debate, Fields is gone now, so it's pretty much put to bed, but just because you want Caleb Williams doesn't mean you have to hate Justin Fields. Just because you want to keep Justin Fields doesn't mean you need to hate on any of the quarterbacks coming out of the draft. That's another kind of tone deaf area of the last couple weeks, but seems to be Caleb Williams' times in Chicago, and Justin Fields, I wish him well.
Absolutely. And looking ahead to the future and everything that goes, we used to do something called a happy and a crappy. We've kind of modified it to a wrong side, right side. What is a wrong side moment for you, Joey, from the last week, and a right side moment for you to look forward to in this upcoming week?
Oh, I got a good wrong side moment. So Friday night, we were drinking with the boys, saw OSU. We had a little bit of a high school sleepover vibe going at our friend's apartment. Smoked a couple joints outside, walked to the market, grabbed some snacks. I got to put Ryan Agner on blast again. Sorry, he's getting hate this week, but he's getting hate this week. But we walk into just this corner store, looking for snacks, chips, drinks, food, whatever you want. This dude walks out of there with blueberry Pop-Tarts and Original Sun chips. Individually not bad. But when you walk in to a store of limitless options and that is what you do, I have to say the lights were too bright for Ryan Agner in that corner store.
Tough episode for Ag. Tough episode for
Agner. Got it then. Finish my wrong side moment. So we eat the snacks. We eat the first video we turn on is the Tavon Austin college highlights.
Oh, yeah.
And we get to bed pretty early in preparation for an early Saturday and a full Saturday of drinking. I woke up and threw up at 4 a.m. for no good reason. I wasn't hammered. It was hours after we had went to bed. I just it was one throw up and I went back to bed. So started Saturday a little behind the 8 ball in that regard, which kind of sucked, but I bounced back there. But don't like
good rally. Good rally. What about your right side moment? Yeah. Looking forward, right side moment for next week.
Looking into next week, hoping today to get right, kind of sweat out all the demons that I have going on, because I got a big Wednesday coming up, going up to see Zach Bryan in Milwaukee with a few of my buddies. He just finished, I think, 4 nights in Chicago at the United Center. Tickets were going for like $400+. So going with my friend, his parents bought the tickets. Huge. Shout out the Meshas. Huge. Really excited for that. That'll be a good time on Wednesday.
Who do you think? You think there might be a guest? Maybe a Damian Lillard? Maybe a Giannis Antetokounmpo? Maybe a Christian Yelich?
The dream. Oh, please not Christian Yelich. If Giannis with that accent coming out to sing Revival would be my personal pick, but probably unlikely, but would be really funny.
All right. Good to know. Good to know.
We'll see. I'm excited. I saw Zach Bryan last summer at Windy City in Chicago. He puts on a great show, and I'm really excited. He's one of my favorites over the last couple of years.
Love that. That's going to be great. Good right side moment for you. For me, wrong side moment of the week definitely just has to be the soberness during St. Patty's Day. It's a little rough seeing all that. I mentioned it throughout the episode, but it was tough seeing that happen when all your friends are in LA, Vegas, Chicago. It didn't matter the city, St. Louis. It didn't matter that was happening, but that did suck. I feel like that was a tough way for the weekend to go. I kind of just chilled at home and got some work done and worked out. And I know I'm not better than anybody, so don't worry about that. I'm not trying to say that because it did fucking suck. But on the right side moment, I'm very much looking forward to this week. March Madness is going to be incredible. I hope that I can get ahead on work from Monday to Wednesday so I can watch more. I'm excited because it's going to be cool to see a lot of teams playing every day. I love sports. Sports is my outlet to get away from work. So it'll be nice to be kind of have it on all day from wake up to, since I'm on the West Coast, it'll be waking up with sports, falling asleep to sports. It's going to be great. I can't wait. I think it's a much needed sports time. We've kind of been on a small break from the Super Bowl, and now we're just watching NBA basketball where teams kind of are playing here and there, not too much, getting ready for the playoffs. So I think it's nice for us, and I think it's going to be good for our friend groups, our friend chats. A lot of group chats kind of pop off. A lot of people you don't talk to is always nice, so I think that's important.
Yeah, March Madness. It's, I think, another reason that we started this podcast. Sports bring people together. I'll be in the office watching with my coworkers who I really don't talk to that much. The group chats will be popping off. You'll be texting your buddy who went to that small school and his team's making a run. So sports are amazing. Sports bring people together, and I am excited.
Sports rock. And I think talking about sports, we're going to be teasing our interview next week with our first wrong side guest in studio history. This person is our known Frank the Tank of our friend group, enemies known as Brian Shaw, Jedrick Willis, and anybody who does anything against any of his teams. They are his enemies. Matt Cooper, Moops, as most of you know, will be in the studio next Sunday for our first guest, and he'll be diving into the Guardians' future, how the Browns are able to compete for next year's season, along with any of his own work and professional life takes living in beautiful Los Angeles. Joey, what a great opportunity it was to get out here and do another episode. Episode 2. Listeners, like and subscribe. We have a Twitter page, Wrong Side Takes. We're about to start an Instagram that'll be up this week. Follow us, fill out the form, tell us what we need to do. How do we get you to listen? We're very interested. Thank you again for listening. Joey, take us out.
Stay blessed.